Hello, and welcome to Learning Music with Pat. I'm going to start off today by showing you what's called an end-blown flute. I want to get it in the best position for you to see it. An end-blown flute. What it's going to look like to you is a stick, basically a tube, a bamboo tube. If you look at it, it's a very nice instrument. It's very nicely decorated, and it's all hand done. It comes from the Caribbean, but I'm not sure which country in the Caribbean. It's all handmade, all bamboo, and all of the decorations, if I can show them to you, maybe if I hold it this way, that's good. See how beautifully it's decorated. Just on one side, though, where the tone holes are, you can see the tone holes right here. Whoops, right here are the tone holes. And the decorations are around the tone holes, and it's very beautifully done. No decorations in the back, but it looks like a regular tube. So where's the mouthpiece? Where's the fipple mouthpiece? Where's the labium? How does it work? Well, it does work. I'm going to blow in a few tones for you so you can see. And if I put my hands on the finger holes, there it loses it. And it's not exactly in pitch, but it does play, and it plays pretty well. It has a good tone. So how do you do it? Well, where's the mouthpiece? It's flat on top, and the mouthpiece occurs both in the front and the back of that tube. It doesn't look like a regular mouthpiece at all. On a regular mouthpiece or recorder, it's very obvious this is a mouthpiece. You can tell just the way it's shaped, and you put it in your mouth and you play it. But this is different. It's like a block design. So what do we have? We have here in front the tone holes, and the mouthpiece is actually a crack. If you can catch that. The mouthpiece is like a little crack, just a little opening on the top of it. Now remember, it's got a flat top, so it's just a little crack. And where's the labium? The labium's in the back of it. So if you look at it like this, the mouthpiece is actually that little crack on top, which I'm not sure if you can pick up or not. Okay, and then the labium is on the back side of it, facing me. Usually with a regular recorder, the labium is right underneath the mouthpiece, and it's facing out toward a person that's looking at you. But this would be facing me, and the little blow thing is right there, and that means that it looks like the mouthpiece is arranged in the back of the instrument, because here I have the front of the instrument with all of its designs, and the labium is in the back. Right there, it's in the back. And in the top, you play into that little crack. Now, what makes these instruments hard to play? It doesn't have a mouthpiece like a regular mouthpiece. What it has acts like a mouthpiece. And I don't know if you can pick this up, but if you can, there's a little darker circle in here. You have the outside circle and the darker circle. That darker circle is the block. That block is equivalent to the block that you would get, which could clearly be seen on the back side of this. So you've got, here's the mouthpiece of a recorder, the back side. This is the front side. This is a fipple mouthpiece. The labium is just below the mouthpiece. Actually, on some instruments, it's actually a part of the mouthpiece, but in most of the recorders, it's just below that first joint. And then the block is in back, It has a curved design, as you can see, and you put it in your mouth and you play it. This has no regular mouthpiece as such. It's like the whole thing is like a block. And so what you have is the top, which is a flat surface and a little crack in it. The darker circle acts as the block. The little crack you blow into, and then the labium is in the back. And then all of the finger holes are in the front. They would have to be in the front because it's the only way you can play it. Now the trick, and I'm not sure I can position this in a way that you can see it, but the trick to playing is you've got to have your mouth above the labium, but covering that crack that's on top. That crack that's on top is the mouthpiece, or acts like the mouthpiece. You have to have your lip over that so you can blow into it, but your bottom lip cannot cover the labium in the back, because if it does, you won't get a tone. That's where the air goes. On a regular recorder, you play it, and the labium is in the front. There's no chance that you're going to cover it. But in this, the labium is in the back, and it's like an angle to what's used as a mouthpiece. So your mouth has got to be perfect on it, or you won't get a tone. And that's all backside too, with your fingers on the front. I have a number of these end-blown flutes. They're fascinating to play because they do the same thing that a recorder does. They have the same parts that a recorder has, but it's made so differently. And if you look back, I'm just going to turn it around. This is the back of the instrument. That's the labium. You can see that on top. I turn it around. I twist it. You see a little crack, which is right here. That crack is above the labium. And that's where you have to put your mouth. You have to actually cover that crack, the mouthpiece, that acts as a mouthpiece. You have to cover that with your mouth to blow into it, but you can't cover the labium, which is right beside it, like at an angle, because if you do, you won't get any tone. So it makes it somewhat harder to play. Everything seems like backsided. Now, I have a number of instruments from the Caribbean that are like that, and I think what I'm going to do the next few sessions is bring in one every time so you can see. So it is a very, very nice instrument. It really does play very well. You just have to get used to the fact that it's constructed quite a bit different than a regular recorder. And when you first get it and you look at it, you say it doesn't have a mouthpiece. You're tempted to say it doesn't have a mouthpiece. Well, it does, but it's on a flat top with a crack and a labium right underneath it. And it's all backside too, with your fingers toward the front. It does make for interesting attempts to play it, because until you're used to that, you can play until until doomsday, and you don't get a tone out of it because you don't realize that you have to have your mouth in a certain position. But anyway, it's an end-blown flute. And I do have some from Morocco, and I have them from other Caribbean nations. And so I will start bringing a few of these in. Now what I want to do, I want to go over a piece of music that I wrote that I'm going to play. And this is the piece of music, and then I'm going to show you how you read music by using signs. Music is actually a language, and when you read it, you actually read music. People talk about reading music, and you actually do read it. And all of these signs and symbols mean something. They tell you where to go, they tell you how fast to go, they tell you where to stop, they tell you where to begin, they tell you where to end. Music is a language, and I'm going to go into some of the symbols, but I'm going to start off with the song. So I'll play it first, and then we'll go from there. I'm not going to play it very fast. okay, that's the whole song. And it seems like I played more notes than is written on here, and I did. So I'm going to go over the signs. How do you know what you're playing? How do you know how fast it goes? All of those things you need to know when you're reading music. So we'll pay attention to this music here so I can explain it to you. This starts off, you always look at your key signature and your time signature when you start a song. Most likely it's going to be in the treble clef because that's all of the recorders play is a treble clef, at least most of them. And you notice you have a sign here for now you skip it. You notice that you have a repeat sign for now you skip it. So you are playing along and playing along and playing along, and when you get here, you have a repeat sign. That repeat sign tells you to go back to this sign. So you play it again. That whole thing is repeated. That's the main body of the song. Now, you play this, you get past that repeat sign, you've already repeated it, so you're not going to use that repeat sign again. You go here and you play this line. This is like what's called a bridge. It's the middle section of a song. And then that's repeated. Here's your repeat sign. And then you go back. This is a repeat sign. You play that again, so you play that twice. Now, this says DS al fine. There's a reason for that. That DS means go back to the sign and play until the end of the song. The end of the song is the al fine. Now, it's spelled F-I-N-E, but it's not pronounced that way. It's pronounced fine. So you get to that DS after you've repeated this line, go back to the sign. That's what that DS means. Go back to the sign, and then you don't pay any attention to repeat signs. In this case, I don't have any anyway, and play it until you get to the al fine. That's the end of the song right there. So instead of writing everything out, which would probably have taken me a couple of pages, especially if I hadn't used any repeat signs, you can read it and you go back certain places and so forth and so on. Now, my sister used to help out with children's concerts, and she would have these long pieces. They would be singing, the children would be singing, and there are signs all over the song. You go here, you go back, you flip that page, you go up to this number, and so forth, and it's all in sign form. So I want to go over this once again. You start here. There's no sharps or flats listed here, so you know that it is in the key of C. And what I have put in is the accidentals instead. So you play these lines, you get to the repeat sign, you go back to this repeat sign, you play it all again, but you don't repeat for a third time. You have already repeated it once. You play that line. There's a repeat sign here. You play that line again. Then, because of the DS al fine, you go back to the sign and you play down here, and that's the end of the song. And that's how you read it. Now I'm going to take, won't have time to do it in this segment, but I'm going to take and show you what all of the signs are that you use in music. I'm going to make a special class probably a couple of weeks from now. But at any rate, that's just the way it goes. And you have to understand what the signs are. Now, because there's no sharps and flats, everything is done by accidentals. The D, the C sharp, the D, B, B flat, and since there's no B, that B flat would go for the rest of the measure, but you don't want it for the rest of the measure, so you put it back as a natural again. That becomes another accidental. F sharp, here's a dotted 8th and 16th. That's one beat, and this is the second beat, and this is the third beat. Now, this is a whole note. That's 3 beats. Why? Because a whole note is worth whatever the time signature says it is. Since this is 3/4 time, this is worth 3 beats. This is worth 3 beats. This is worth 3 beats. A dotted half note is generally worth 3 beats anyway, because a half note is usually worth 2 beats. You add a dot to it, and that's half the value of the note, which means 1/4 quarter note would be half the value. Add it together, you get 3 beats. Does it make any difference whether you put the whole note and it's 3 beats because of the time signature, or you put the dotted half because that's the way you're going to count it out as 3 beats? Doesn't make any difference how you do it. It doesn't make any difference at all. It's going to be the same. I put in the various things so that I can show you what it is. So this is the way you have to do it. Now this is 3, the 3 on top indicate that that is a triplet. 3 notes to a beat. Then the quarter note's a beat, and the quarter note's a beat. So that's 1, 2, 3. Here's another triplet. 3 notes to a beat. That's 1. This is the second beat, and the third beat is the dotted 8th and 16th, which is always a beat. So you have 1 beat, 2 beat, and the third beat. Now you have the dotted 8th and 16th, 1 beat, and then the quarter note's a beat, and then the other quarter note's a beat, and then you have the whole note, which is 3 beats. So each, when you have the time signature 3/4, it means that there are 3 beats to each measure. And so this shows you that, and if you count these, they're all 3 beats. Every measure is 3 beats. Now, could I change that and make that 4/4 time? Well, I could. I'd have to have a different configuration of the notes. If I wanted to do it 4/4 time, it would sound something like this. Now, I changed it a little bit, but I didn't change it much. It's actually basically the same song. Of course, I could play it a lot faster. But doing it with triplets, it changes the whole nature of it. So I'll do that, a part of it again. So you see, you can have basically the same notes, you can have basically the same song, and you can change the structure of it. Now, what's not going to change is the accidentals. Here, I start out with this I start out with a D. This is the way we record a book will tell you how to do it. I do it a little differently, but anyway. And so, but I do it a little differently. If we can get just the recorder for a minute. Here's your D, C sharp, E, sometimes the way I do it is the way the flutes would do it. And as long as the instrument can do it, and this one can, it doesn't make that much difference. Although a recorder purist would probably want to kill me because I'm taking some liberties here. Now this is the song, I just thought of it, and I just wrote it down. And we don't have a whole lot of time left, but you can see how you can change music, and you can see that you need the accidentals, and the accidentals are not going to change regardless of how you change the timing of the music. The timing of the music doesn't change the notes that much, but it reconfigures what the notes are worth in terms of their value when you're playing them. So you can make a waltz. That what I've written here is a waltz tempo. 3/4 time is a waltz tempo, but I can do it in 4/4 time, which is what I've been showing you, just to change it. I could change it into 8/16. I could change it into anything I want to change it. But I want to get you used to the fact that signs show you how to read music, show you where to go in the music, so that when you read a piece of music and you see a sign, you know what it means. You do something as a result of the sign. You know, when you're driving a car, you don't have someone telling you, there's a stop sign, make sure you stop. Or here's an arrow to the right, this is the way you go with the same arrow. You know what the signs mean because you've been driving, you learned how to drive, and you know what red lights mean, and you know what stop signs mean, and you know when it says yield, what that means. And so basically what these signs are doing in the music is telling you what to do and where to go next and how to work it. Do you repeat something? Do you stop something? Do you slow something down? Or do you keep it up? Do you go faster? If I wrote the word like presto, that would mean fast. If I put the word R-I-T, which I think I did in the bottom, well, I guess I didn't. R-I-T, which, oh, here it is right here. R-I-T, which is short for retard. And this is the al fine where you stop. So consider the music and the signs that are on it, a little like road signals. They tell you what to do and where to go, and they're very important. And as you learn music and as you learn how to play, it's an extra thing that you learn, because I could play this by writing all of this music out without any repeats, without any signs, but it would make the music a lot longer. And if I can use the signs and shorten it up, I still get what I want. I still know where I want to go. I still know what I want to do, and I do it. So we're just about out of time. So I'm going to close it here, and we'll continue looking at instruments, and I'll be showing you some things next time that you may not have thought about. So please join me then.